Regis was appalled that I stopped petting her for a few seconds.
Pets are so funny. Like when I was over at Glenn and Becky's with Jacqueline the other night.
Yeah.
Like Purse and Seb will just be like, they're both minding their own business. And nobody's paying attention to anything. And then all of a sudden, Purse just jumps off the couch, like all pissed off, like right at Seb. Like doesn't do anything, just kind of goes up and stops and they stare each other down. And then Purse just turns around and goes back to the couch. It's like, what happened? What triggered those reactions in those pets, you know?
There's a great tweet that this one guy I follow like put out where he's like, occasionally I will sneeze and my dog will look up at me and be like, oh, it's time to make noises with our mouths. And he'll just start barking for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And we are back, as always, to talk about some video games, and we're going to talk about some new video games, which, well, I guess this is like probably about a month later, which I guess, real quick, we are recording this close to the 4th of July. It's 4th of July weekend, so if you do hear some fireworks in the background throughout the episode, we are in Chicago here recording, and it's probably inevitable. But yeah, I picked up the new Mario Golf, which if you listen to Mario Golf Super Rush, and if you listen to our holiday episode, you'll know that I was super, super excited for this game. Like, Mario Golf is one of my favorite franchises, and they really, I guess, like, I think I talked about this a little, so I won't go too into it on the holiday episode, but, like, I didn't really love the 3DS Mario Golf, which was the most recent one, and then they did do, like, a paid DLC that added a bunch of new courses, and that did kind of flesh it out to make it a more full package, and, with Mario Golf Super Rush, this is, again, the first thing they've done, and I was like, man, the Switch is probably my favorite console of all time. I know I'm hyperbolic all the time, but I really, I mean, it just has, like, every cool indie game almost from the last 10 years has been ported to it. Like, it has all the first-party Nintendo stuff. It really has, like, almost everything. It's got the online Super Nintendo stuff and NES. Like, you know what I mean? It, like, I get so much joy out of playing this thing, you know, and I play it all the time. So it really is, like, probably my favorite console. And I was like, now you're going to add one of my favorite franchises to that console. And it's perfect fit.
Oh,
and oh my God, I am so mad about this game. And I don't know if mad's the right word.
Disappointed.
Disappointed is the right word. Yeah. But it is it's so different in, like, the subtlest ways, but that make no sense. Like, every decision was either a dumb decision, in my opinion, or a decision that was, like, strictly made to accommodate this new speed mode of golfing, which, to be fair, I haven't even tried. I've only played the regular golf. But they've changed the mechanics so much, and I will admit, yeah, this isn't a review on, like, the whole game, I guess, but, like, the golf mechanics, so, like, in the old... So, for starters, every character you pick, there's no more, like, oh, this character has a straight arrow shot, this character has a draw, this character has a fade. Every character just hits a straight down-the-middle shot, and your draw and fade is only affected by your timing of your shot lining it up. And now, instead of having a horizontal bar at the bottom of the screen where you kind of line up your shot, where it scrolls, you hit A once to start the meter. You know, your typical golf meter. Yeah. You hit A once to start the meter, hit it again to stop it for your power, and then hit it again as it comes back to line up the accuracy of your shot, essentially. And then in the old games, it would even have, like, a red bar underneath where if you hit outside of that red bar, you would, like, totally shank the shot.
Yeah, or
and, like,
slice.
Duff it. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, just duff it, like, way off to the side, out of bounds or something, like, if you totally whiffed.
Yeah.
They removed that completely. You can't whiff shots at all. The meter is now horizontal on the side, which is no big deal. That's just a stylistic thing. But then it goes up once, and then it doesn't come back down. It goes up again with a new meter that has this huge, like, smeared trail behind it, so you can't see how to line it up. And then you have to line it up at the top, and it's just the jankiest setup. And then I'm just going to rant here. Because, like, so when you're aiming your shot, when you're lining up your shot, you don't even see anymore, like, you know how you could see, like, kind of the whole trail, like the invisible kind of dotted line?
Yeah.
Where it'd be like, oh, your shot's going to hit the tree over here. It turns red. Like, you don't see that anymore. There's just, like, a tiny little one, like, coming off of your club, and that's all you can see. And then they don't even show the slope, like, of where your shot is going to land. Mm-hmm. Like, you only see the slope of the ground that you're standing on, which is basically useless. And then, unless you're putting, it just, every decision makes no sense. And I have to think that this was all done to accommodate golfing faster and, like, not duffing shots. And, like, you got to keep moving. We're racing. We're playing speed rush. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so sad about the golf. Because, like, so even the way that you can, like, there isn't even a button. You know how you could, like, press, I don't know, whatever button you would press where it'd kind of, like, zoom up the path of, like, your shot, and then it would show where it's going to land, and that's where you kind of tweak your shot.
Yeah.
Where you want to aim it. You can't do that anymore. You can do this, like, overhead view that zooms way out overhead, and you can zoom up, but where it starts, like, every time it starts out way, like, from outer space, and then you got to zoom down, and it's like, it's so far out where, like, you just see, like, sometimes half the screen is just black because there's nothing over there. It's just out of bounds course. Like, it's just because all the courses are, like, because it's a speed rush mode, they're all, like, interconnected. Like, the whole course is, like, on one connected ground of land. Like,
oh, so when you zoom out, you're seeing, like, the entire, all the holes?
Not fully when you do the lineup shot, but, like, when you do pick the course, yeah, you can see all the holes, and you can definitely see, like, on the very first course, it's very easy, like, it's a smaller course. You can easily just hit shots in, like, other fairways if you want to, like, wherever you want. It's, like, almost more strategical to do that in some cases. But they got rid of power shots. Like, before, you would get 6 power shots per round. Mm-hmm. And, like, if you lined it up perfect, like, if you got full power and lined it up perfect, you would actually get it wouldn't use that power. So it was, like, kind of like a little extra strategy of, like, oh, can I get away with, like, every par 5? Can I use my power shots and stuff? Yeah. They don't have that anymore. Just every mechanic around the golf, which is what I really loved about these games. I will say the putting, I still got my putting touch, like, that translated pretty well. But I didn't finish the thought of, like, so where you'd press the button, it would kind of zoom up your shot, and then where you tweak where you're aiming, like, for your drive or whatever, lining it up to hit it down the fairway, let's say. Like, now you can press, like, the shoulder buttons to do, like, a binoculars view, where it kind of like a viewfinder kind of thing. And it's kind of cool. It even has, like, gyro controls if you don't turn them off, where you can kind of, like, line up and aim, and then you can even press it again, and it'll, like, zoom up even further. And then so when you do that, it will show the slope, and you can pull back. But then when you're in that view, you can't adjust where you're aiming. You can only press a button that will let you aim at where you're looking. But you can't change where you've looked. Like, you look, and then you set where you've looked, and you zoom in, and then you can go aim here, and then when you aim there, it, like, zooms back to your character, and you're like, where the hell was I aiming? You don't even know if it changed. You're like, wait, did that work? Did that button press register? Because it doesn't, like, show your character, like, shifting or anything. You just go back to the screen, and you're like, what? I just don't. It feels really rushed, you know, not to be cheesy because the game is called Super Rush, but, like, it feels like the courses are really empty, like barren wastelands. Like they all feel like desert courses. It's really ugly. Like, I actually just watched this video that somebody posted in our Discord the other day about Wii Sports Golf.
Yeah.
And it looked better than this. I'm not kidding. The characters look great, but the trees and stuff and, like, the grass just look terrible. And then the golf ball is, like, the size of a goddamn softball. Like, it just sucks, man. I hate this game. And I've sat down, I played, like, 2 courses. I've, like, rage quit a few times, like, just mid-game, just like, fuck this, no. And then I'm like, no, it's Mario Golf. It's got to be good. And I keep playing. I've unlocked all the courses now. I do need to try speed mode, and they have said they're going to add more free courses and stuff, but, like, I'm so not into the mechanics that I'm just not feeling it. I'm really disappointed. But again, that is for what I want, because I did hear a lot of people saying that this new mode of, like, where you get to play as your Mii character is kind of like the RPG, you know, that people have been wanting. So, like, in a lighter sense.
That's what I'm most curious about, honestly.
but I don't want to play as my me, man. I want to play as Mario. And the fun was kind of like finding your character, and like, they don't even have tournaments in this game. I'm guessing they'll probably do online things like they did with Mario Tennis Aces. And I know we talked about Mario Tennis Aces on the podcast, I think, a long time ago. I know we've definitely discussed it amongst ourselves. But that game, I know we were kind of, I guess, different on different ends on that one, because I loved that game. And the story mode was terrible, but again, I'm here for the game itself, you know. And I actually got really into the kind of more arcadey version of like essentially what this speed mode is trying to inject into Mario Golf. Like, I was kind of like, hey, if they're kind of taking the same logic or same mindset that they, you know, went and tackled and approached Mario Tennis with Mario Golf, this could be awesome. And again, to be fair, I haven't tried it, but I'm not that pumped to try it because the mechanics aren't that fun. And I don't know, again, maybe it is that expectation of wanting it to be the comfort thing that I wanted because I love it so much, and wanting it to be like just pick up and play and I get it immediately. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels so unintuitive to play. And again, that might come from having so much muscle memory with the games, but
that's honestly like exactly what my reaction to like Aces was, where it's like, you know, I have this expectation of like, you know, like Mario Tennis on 64 was like a huge comfort game for me. Like, I really liked how that controlled, and that was fun. But like, yeah, I didn't like the changes that they made in Aces, and like, yeah, the story mode really was underwhelming.
Oh yeah,
like,
that was terrible. I'll admit that.
And it was fun. Like, I enjoyed it, but like overall, like, it was not the game that I expected it to be, and like that was disappointing. And like, I played Aces through a couple of like the updates. Like, they're still doing updates. There's still like content coming out. So like, I don't doubt that they'll be putting out like new courses and new characters or stuff, like, or just like silly tournaments where like you can get a new outfit for your character,
right? If you compete, or if you rank in the top 100 or something, yeah,
right.
Like, and I'm all about that. Like, that would be fun. That would be fun. I could see myself getting into that potentially.
Right, but yeah, like if they've changed so much of the core gameplay, like that, it feels strange or unfamiliar. Like, yeah, it may be a good game, but it's not the game that you're expecting, and that's just kind of a disappointment. And it's hard to get over that disappointment.
It really is. Like I said, I've like 3 or 4 different times. Like I think Zandan said in the Discord, like, you can't fault you for not trying. Like, you keep going at it, you keep giving it a shot. And I was like, I finally unlocked the last course. I haven't played Bowser's Castle, which is, you know, there's lava, you know, all over the course. But like, they're just so bland. There's like nothing. And again, I don't know if that's to accommodate like having room for everyone to run around on the speed course, but that's really my main fear, and why like, as much as I loved Mario Tennis Aces, I did have to be in a very specific mood to be like, I want to play like a fighting game almost.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like in the zone. Like, these rallies go on. If you play someone equally matched to you, like, they can go on forever. Yeah. And it's like, you gotta, so that's where I was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be in that mode for playing Mario Golf.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing I like about it is like, oh, I just want to throw on a podcast or whatever it is, and I just want to chill out and play Mario Golf in the morning while I sip on my coffee. Like, it's like it's what I wanted, and it hasn't quite been there. I'm not giving up just yet, but I am pretty disappointed in the overall package, and I'm hoping that they can I hope they add some kind of like legacy control option, you know, where it's like, this is the old school controls, but I don't have a lot of faith that stuff like that's going to happen. I think it's going to be more like course updates, characters, but they do have some odd characters, like King Babam is one of the characters you can play as.
I saw that as like Charge and Chuck, also a character.
Yeah. And Pauline, it's like a relatively limited cast. Like, you don't have like Birdo and like some of the other classic characters from you know, the typical like Mario Golf, Mario Party franchises. But yeah, it's a little disappointing, but literally now that we're just talking about it, I was like, I should play some more.
Make a Mii that looks like your go-to character, and then just play like a Mii version of Mario.
Yeah, that's true. I just need to make like a goofy Mii character that's fun because I just have this like dopey version of me that I made when I had my Wii U, and I just keep using that version of my me, and it doesn't get me excited to hit the links. But yeah, I think we could probably move on from my Mario Golf despair and end the episode. Let's wash that out of our mouths and get into some good games here. And I know I've just started playing this recently, so now that I've finally purchased, I don't know if we've mentioned this on the podcast, but we do have a Steam curator page, and the only way to acquire the ability to make one of those is you have to have spent at least $5 on Steam. And I had never bought anything on Steam before. I just, I think I've mentioned before, I was always like I never played PC. I always played console games, and then I went into playing console or I keep switching it up, but I went into kind of dipping into PC games when that itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality came out, because it was just like, oh, all of a sudden I have a PC game library of mostly games that will actually run on my halfway decent laptop. It's not like the most demanding games for the most part. It's mostly smaller indie things. And I wasn't playing a ton of PC games and until that itch.io bundle, and then since I had to spend a little bit of money on Steam, I actually bought one thing for $4.99, and the tax didn't register so we didn't quite hit the curator. Then I bought that Snake RX game to get over the hump, and then there was a Steam summer sale recently, and everybody was like, I'm buying this, and I was like, okay. I saw unlike Snake RX, Snakebirds was also on sale for half off, so I picked up that, and I picked up another game. I already forgot what it was. but I've been playing a ton of Snakebirds, although when I say a ton, that means I've spent a ton of time. I have not gotten very far, because this game is so hard. Yeah. The puzzle, it is like a side-on kind of grid-based puzzler with gravity involved, I guess, like in the sense that like you're moving your Snakebird, and it works kind of like any arcade snake game would, where you have to eat all the fruit on a level, and as you eat the fruit, your Snakebird will extend its length by one tile essentially, and then you just have to kind of weave your way around the levels without falling off the ledge into the water. You're usually on these like little islands, and the gravity, like as long as one piece of your Snakebird is touching solid ground, or another Snakebird as you get further into the levels, where they add in multiples that you have to swap between, like as long as one of that's touching, like it's not like there's no physics involved. Essentially,
it's
like
as long Tetris gravity.
Exactly. So I don't even, other than some of the side like bonus levels I've unlocked off to the side that have had multiple Snakebirds, which I have not been able to complete or even have any semblance of an idea of what to do. I've only experienced levels with single Snakebirds, and I think I'm only on maybe the 5th or 6th level. I don't really understand, because it was like it started at level 0, went to like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it went to like 6, and then 10, and then like 21. So I don't really understand the level progression, but I'm moving along on like the world map. It's got like a really clean, like bright, cheery style. It's got like a great, you can actually even turn on like the grid, so you can see like, nice. If you just want that assistance to like, let me just look at this a little differently, maybe it'll open up my third eye and help me figure out this puzzle. But it is like one of those,
you're moving one tile at a time, so you can probably plan out like, okay, my Snakebird is like 4 segments long, and like that means I have like 3 movements while I can still be on this square and not be falling down from gravity.
Right. And it's a lot of like going out and then coming back around, like going out off the island to give yourself room to come back around before, it's really, really tricky. But it's one of those great puzzle games where it's like you quit it and then you keep thinking about it in your head, and then like you come back to it and you're like, not that you necessarily figured it out in your head, but you just come back to it fresh and feeling like, I got this. And then you will like tackle it from a different angle. And it's one of those games that really, again, I have not made it very far at all. But I'm just like, I'm constantly thinking about it, and it's just such a pleasant game that like just staring at the screen and like it's not that frustrating, and you can zoom in, zoom out. It looks like some of the levels like later on might get pretty large. Like even like that one side level, it had 3 Snakebirds on it, and like when you zoomed way out, it was like, whoa, like I was like, how the hell do you just have to eat all the fruit on a stage, then a portal opens up and you have to get through the portal. And man, I don't know. I don't know how tough this game is going to get. But I do think there is, I forget what it's called now, but there is like another version of Snakebird that came out that is actually like an easier set of levels. And it's like a half price of what the normal game is. I forget what the name of it is, but I think it's supposed to be more of like a tutorial. Or I might have that backwards, where this version is the tutorial and this other one is like even harder, which I can't imagine. Like I'd be really curious. This is a game I'd love to see DJ play. Because I'm always baffled by how
the same for like as Baba as you like.
Yeah, it's that kind of brain. Like it's really. I mean, it's obviously you're not like coding within the game, but like you really. Many of the puzzles I solve, I am shocked that like that's the angle that I attacked it from. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I can't believe I had to like do like those three things. Like you really have to. It's not just about maneuvering through the like little tunnels and channels and the. Kind of carved out through the islands. It really is about like positioning yourself before you go into those tunnels and caverns and like positioning yourself so that you don't land on the spikes, like forming like a kind of like upward T or L shape so that like when you fall, your head smashes onto the ground and like you're just one tile above the spikes with your tail. Like it's so good, and it's like so fluidly smooth. You can play like either with a mouse or with keyboard and whatever, or with controller. It's got like the instant like just rewind button where you just instant one click and it just goes back one move at a time.
Nice.
You can just pause and reset the game. And if you do fall off the island or whatever into the water, it just spawns you right where the last spot that you moved from. So it's like you don't get penalized for. It's not like start the level over. Although sometimes, again, it is better to just be like, wait a sec. I think I've like twisted this Snakebird around so many times that maybe I need to see it where it originally started again before. Like, I think I may have like worked myself into a position where I can't actually beat it from here, but I'm trying to figure it out, and maybe I just need to reset it. But yeah, it's just so clean, and it's a game that's been around for quite a while. I've wanted to play it. I can't remember where I heard of it originally. It was like on another podcast, probably Idle Thumbs or something, but it's one that like just always piqued my interest, and because it was, I think, only available on Steam at the time. I think it's on mobile and stuff too, but and I didn't buy any games on Steam. I didn't have it. So now that it was on sale for like $3.50, like an absolute steal.
Oh yeah.
And it's one that you said you haven't played it, right, John? You've just like kind of seen
it's
it
just been on
action.
same. It's been on my radar for years, and I was like, oh yeah, every like video or clip, I'm like, yep, that looks like exactly right up my alley.
That's a me game.
Puzzle game.
Yeah,
but yeah, like we didn't plan it, but that is honestly like just a perfect comparison for one of the games that I've been playing, which is
perfect.
I've been going into Kultisti's catalog as fave dev on this podcast, as Kevin's brought up their games multiple times, like probably like 3 or 4 different times on the podcast, probably more than I've mentioned any like one specific developer. I think I don't know, definitely you've got I've got Matt Ugg, I've got your Connor Grails, your Daniel Linsons, those are the trio. Like, well, for Matt Ugg, Kultisti, and Daniel Linson are the only 3 developers that have individual playlists on our YouTube channel, because I've checked out so many of their games and like, okay, I've like played a dozen of your games. I probably can just make a playlist out of these. Yeah. But yeah, just top notch, and I'm glad you're digging in deeper. And these are even newer games since last time I talked about Kultisti stuff. Like, they just crank them out. Yeah, and in particular, I played through Wirecat. Cats and Wires. Cats and Wires, yeah. Cats and Wires, God. I just played it. I just played it today. There's too many games. There's so many games. But it is a similar puzzle platformer, like, that has kind of snake mechanics with the wires, where you are a person who's trying to get back your 20 cats that have fallen through a portal. I forgot about that cute opening cutscene. It's great. But yeah, it's amazing. It's a WASD like platformer where the up button or like arrow keys is your jump. And then I played arrow keys and Z and X. That's my go-to like keyboard setup on these games. Yeah, and same. In the first couple levels, like, you're just platforming and getting like a tutorial, like, just from the level design, and then it introduces wires, which you will have an endpoint and a start point. and either Z or X will like switch between moving one of the points, and you can swap between the two and make sure that they start at one node and end at another node. And the wire that you can spread between those two nodes becomes a platform that your character can jump and move across. So like a lot of the levels are, and every time that you are moving a wire, time freezes.
Yes.
And your character will like freeze in midair. So it's a lot of like jumping and then snaking the wire around you and like creating you a new platform that you can then jump off and then move to a new area. And like, it was such a perfect progression of like, there's right from the get-go, it's like you had 20 cats and there's like, yep.
Here's
one cat
20
per
single
level.
Screen levels. Yep.
And I'm like, all right, I got 20 levels of this. And the progression of like the increased complexity from each level was so perfect. Like that, like the
it's
puzzle
pitch
platforming
perfect.
was.
Yeah, the level design and like you mentioned, the way it just kind of tutorializes you through the levels. Even to some degree, like almost through the level names, because like each single screen level, I think the first time you have to utilize that like freezing time mechanic while in midair, I think the stage is called jump rope.
Yes.
So it kind of like gives you that hint of like, if you're stuck, you're kind of like, what haven't I tried yet? And then your jump rope, it might give you that little nudge, like kind of like VVV has like each screen has like its own name.
Exactly.
It kind of had that vibe to it. And again, this is another, I don't know how long the game jam was, but this is, I think it was the mini jam. So it was like a 72-hour game. So or either 72 or 48 hours to be able to put something together that has like this level of polish, this level of like, again, like the way the level progression works, like that's the thing you hear about in game jams all the time is like the difficulty curve is just way out of balance because you just made the mechanics work and then you're like, that's all we had time to do, where this is like a whole game. I mean, again, if you just made more levels for this, and not that I need more levels, I'm totally happy with what I played, but like if this was like, I just feel like a ton of these like single screen platformers are like, here's 100 levels, That's an easy game that I would buy on any platform, It's just crazy that this is just like, oh, here's something I made over the weekend.
Yeah. And it's so good.
And the aesthetic too is like, I'm really glad because I think the last time or the first time that we talked about Kultisti games together, John, where it wasn't just me raving about it, was when we talked about Underneath from the Ludum Dare game jam.
Yep.
And that was a collaboration project between them, Human is Red, and Sulo doing the soundtrack. And I love that game. Love that game. But it's probably not the best introduction to Kultisti's work because they have this very cohesive style to their games and even presentation, like the opening cutscenes that kind of like there's almost like just a few like comic panels that kind of explain the situation. Like, again, even if it's just like a simple like arcade game, like we're going to talk about another one, Cog Owl, that is their most recent game. Mm-hmm. And this is another like just single screen arcade game where it's just, this is more like you're chasing a high scores. It's not level based. And you basically just have this owl that has 3 flaps that are like, you have to refill them. You have like these 3 containers or whatever you want to call them on the bottom that like every time you collect the cogs or whatever they are that are floating around on the screen, that refills your jumps or your flaps or whatever. And they don't like disappear over time or anything. And it's just high score chasing. Like it's pretty simple game. And over time, I think like after you collect about 30 of those cogs, and there's just spikes on the bottom of the ground. So if you run out of flaps and you hit the ground, you're done. But then after you collect like about 30 of those cogs or these things that are floating around, these like just different platforms, just like on like hanging from chains or whatever, just start flying across the screen at a pretty slow pace and whatnot. They're not like going crazy. And it's really nice, like, because the screen itself is kind of like the playable area is kind of boxed in, but you can see the like platforms that are coming kind of off the screen first. And like I don't know, I really love how addictive this was. This was a really fun one. Like we were hanging out in the Bug Cord, the Dev Dwarf Discord, and everyone was like hooked on this game and like, oh, I just got 160. Oh, I just got that. Like we were just sharing scores back and forth. And I got 212.
Okay,
and,
I was proud of my 40. So
I got 212, and Kultisti told me that was the highest that they had heard. That doesn't mean I have the highest out there, because, you know, there's always someone, but...
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was the highest score that they had heard of. So, and we even got like, there's unlockable pallets and everything. And we even got a pallet in the game, like Dev Dwarf did as well. A bunch of it, like they were asking for ideas basically. And Zandan, who we mention all the time on the podcast too, like was like, give it a try, Kev. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Why not? And then, we got the Pursuing Cogs palette, which is really cool. It's got just like a purpley tint. It's pretty similar to actually the main palette. Which I felt kind of bad. I kind of jocked Kultisti's style there a little bit. But yeah, I really just got super addicted to this game. Like I don't know. It's just so simple. And I love how Kultisti has this like range of ability to make all different types of games that still, again, have this like cohesive nature to them, because we've talked about puzzle platformers, we've talked about like in the past, we've talked about like straight up like arcade shoot 'em ups, we've talked about, I don't know, just all sorts of different types of games from them. And then I know, and I've talked before about Lonely People Potion Shop, and I know, John, you spent a little bit of time digging into that, which was part of that care package bundle that we talked about when I first mentioned this game.
And that, yeah, like I when I played Underneath, I knew like from hearing you describe like games like Lonely People Potion Shop.
It is a tongue twister.
That is a little bit, but like I was like, yeah, I know that this is that Underneath is very different from the other games. So like even if like, you know, I'm not a huge action platformer person, like I knew that there were like a bunch of games that I did want to try. And yeah, as soon as I booted it up, I was like, yep, no, this is such like a charming game that like is way more my speed, like literally, because it's it
is like slow everything down for a minute.
But then I played Cog Owl, and like I'm not a huge arcade person, but that was still like really rewarding and addictive. Like I was playing, like I played a few rounds where I was like, you know, just figuring out the mechanics. And then like, as soon as I hit like 30 and like those platforms start coming in from the side, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a whole new mechanic being introduced. And that was just exciting. That felt good. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And those don't take like when you hit the platforms, they don't kill you. They just kind of like, you can't flap for a second, or you have like a cooldown or whatever. But it's all, you sometimes like have to do it on purpose almost. Like, hey, I'm not going to be able to avoid this. I got to choose which one I'm going to hit so that I can make sure I can recover in time to make a flap. So it, again, for just like this simple little arcade game, like it's super addictive. And yeah, Lonely People Potion Shop is just like this like cozy hug of a game almost.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's very much not my style of game, you know, but again, because it was from Kultisti, it was like, I gotta give this a try. Like it just looks so charming, and it's just so fun to see those cocktails you whip up in person, I guess, or, you know, like digitized or whatever. I don't know. There's just such cool art styles. I just love everything they do. And there's, like we've said before on the podcast, there is a plethora of Kultisti games to dig through, and even zines and stuff like that. Like they've just put out stuff constantly on their itch.io page, so we'll make sure to have a link to that, like we always do. But we'll specifically link to their like homepage, because it's a treasure trove of greatness. Yeah. So, but I don't know, anything else we want to gab about tonight, John, or good to call it an evening?
I think that's all I got.
Nice. Well, yeah, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. We're on YouTube. We're not doing Twitch a ton these days, but we're still there every now and then. We're hanging out a bunch in the Discord. We've actually had a bunch of new members joining. Been pretty active lately, so come on in. Tons of people sharing their stuff. So, like, yeah, come in if you got some, like, a project you want to, you know, let other people know about. We've been seeing a bunch of cool things in the works. So, yeah, come hang out, come say hey, and until next week, we will catch you then. Take care.
Bye.
How are you doing this? He's like, I need to hire you for marketing. I was like, dude, all I did was post a blabber clip, and that's all you need to do, man.
Nice.
But it was pretty funny. But yeah, it's cool to like. It's weird how much you're like, man, we post stuff constantly. I feel we're like, how can anyone not know that we have a Discord? And then you just mention it, and people are like, oh man, I had no idea you had a Discord.
I mean, yeah, nobody.
It's so you just got to remind people. It's not like I see every tweet from everyone that goes out. So
exactly. And I know you said that we haven't been on Twitch, but you want me to come over and stream?
Yeah,
sometime?
dude, I'm down if you want to. If you want to, yeah. I was just saying, I know I haven't been doing it lately because I've just like I've even been. I think I've mentioned a few times like I've been gravitating towards trying to figure out a way to do like streaming on Discord, just because like to me that almost feels like less pressure, like of just like it just seems like on Twitch people expect you to like have a schedule and really.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like I don't have that in me. Like I can't be on at specific times.
Exactly.